I just learned some jazz today, it's true.
Hey everybody, if you're listening, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. That way you never miss a new episode. Thanks, guys.
Yes, you gon' learn, you gon' learn, you gon' learn. It was just past 1, 2, 3 man with a 4, 5 step.
You know, that's what drives it. That's what keeps it going. We still have this inner person that wants to serve and provide a service and be hospitable, and that's what it comes down to is who we are as people, how we're wired. It drives us, and that's it. It may sound sick and demented, but it's been fun because it's out of the norm. You're pivoting every day, and how do I react for that? There's no toolkit for this. There's no big myriad box that says do this if that happens. No, this is like, oh my God, the governor did that. What do we do now? And then we'll gather together, then we'll break it down, and then we'll come with a plan, and you just go forward.
Which I think was cool to experience. Cause I think we were just such in a routine. A lot of people in hospitality and restaurants, it was just like, oh, Monday, this is what we do. Tuesday, this is what we do. And like, I was like so bored. I'm like, okay, like business growing is fun, but like I was bored at my mind, and it's like the world stops. I'm like, okay, like what? Oh, can we do delivery? Can we go do this? Can we go do this? Like, can I take a break for like a month and come back? You know, like, can I? Is that allowed? You know, but it has been crazy. But I think for a lot of owners, I think the best thing to see is like, can you pivot? Right? Are you a good owner? Are you a good manager? Because if you're sitting here like complaining too much, I don't want to hear it.
Are you a wartime general or a peacetime general?
Yeah.
You know, because like all that stuff's out of our control. It's in our control what we control in our spaces.
Yeah.
You know, and so like so many people had a bad 2 weeks and decided to close. I'm like, dude, you gotta fight longer than that. You know,
that's the key. I think my background, owning my own business for 7 years, and then having 9/11 and working through that hospitality time. And then I eventually sold it, but it was probably the most depressed I ever was in my life because I felt like I failed, but yet I lasted 2 years past 9/11. I did everything I could to stay open.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, I could have went bankrupt. I didn't. I sold it. I carried that debt for another 6 years after that because I personally was not going to let that go.
Right.
Yeah.
It just was crazy. And I think working here gives me that opportunity. Then going through the recession and working for banks of hotels that were in receivership and keeping them open so they could be sold. I mean, you'd never think you're going to use that, but when this happened, it just clicked all back to what I'd went through and how to survive.
And that's why I tell anyone that's going through this now for the first time, you know, younger people that weren't around professionally for 9/11 or even the 2008 recession, is that you're going to look back and this will forever shape you and help you for anything that happens in the future.
Totally.
This is a gift in disguise.
It is. It makes you a better manager, a better person socially, and how you react. Because the next thing I think about is all the associates, the 700 associates work here. They're individuals, and how do I make sure their life is minimally impacted as best I could do? And we've got another wave coming.
Right.
And how do I take care of the remaining 300 here? Benefits. How do we transition that out? How do we respect them? And I'm going to need those associates back when the season kicks in May and Memorial Day. Yep. But how do I make it?
All right, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, will you guys both take a moment, just introduce yourselves for people listening and tuning in. Tell us about yourselves.
Matthew Bryant, general manager of the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa. Grew up in Flint, Michigan. To Eastern Michigan for hospitality, and from there I've been in the industry nonstop. I've worked in hospitality since I was 14. First job was pulling weeds and painting curbs at a Howard Johnson in Flint, Michigan. It was crazy, and I remember back then as I wanted a bicycle. My dad's like, go to work
for it.
And so ever since then, my mentality is just work for it and just keep going. And this industry has provided me an opportunity to travel all over the United States, experience people, locations, foods. It's very, very rewarding to me. And any time that I can give it back is what I always try to do.
Wow.
So that's me. I mean, grew up in a household that's split with from religion to politics, and it makes you a very good thinker. How do you survive, right? You've got it just diversifies you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think that's who I am as a foundation. So,
Love that.
So that's me. Kids, married. Oh, how about this? Married my high school sweetheart.
Oh, okay. How long have you been married?
28 years.
Congrats.
28 years.
You have children, you said?
Yeah, 26 and 24.
Wow.
They're not. Yeah, they're still kids.
Yeah.
They're still kids. I got a text just before coming here, and my son's like, when did you change the oil last?
Oh, gosh, the plastic.
Maybe you should change the oil.
Sounds like they didn't have that same.
Well, they did because they traveled too. I mean, my kids went to 5 different schools, and it was all over the United States. They went to college, and it was rewarding to them. They were prepared for it. I mean, it was unique as a parent that you felt good that they went off to do that on their own and just went away. It was funny. Our daughter had gone through 5 schools, and she was like, "Oh, I got my brother. I went to 5. You've only gone to 4." No, I moved one more time so that he had to go to 5 different schools. Yeah.
Caroline, how about you?
Caroline Rizzo, Public Relations Manager here at Grand Traverse Resort and Spa, and I do not have the hospitality history that Matthew does or even you two do. I'm from Michigan, from Metro Detroit. I went to school for broadcasting and was a TV news reporter and anchor for just over 5 years. And I decided to make the career switch right at the end of February, beginning of March.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Not knowing, I had never really worked, I've worked so many jobs before. I mean, I worked at an ice cream store for 9 years. I've worked in restaurants. I've worked at the mall and stores. So I totally have the customer service side from every single angle you could work it. Never worked necessarily in hospitality like this. And I wanted to get away from news to have a little bit more of a life, to enjoy my weekends, to enjoy my nights and dinners, to be able to do things with people. But I've always been a go, go, go person still. Was not prepared for a desk job, did not want to be sitting down. And so I think that's what drew me to doing PR in the hospitality industry. Because I could have gone and done PR for a school system or medical, a hospital. There's so much you can do with it. But I think I had lived up in Traverse City for a couple years. I fell in love with the city up here, the whole northern Michigan region, the community you have here. And I had a lot of experience at the resort when I was a reporter up here. Mm-hmm. So I knew this place's story, but the story is so much larger here than people realize. So really, my experience here just scratched the surface, and coming in here in March was super exciting, and it's still been really exciting. It was very stressful.
Okay, so we're gonna get into what this year has looked like for you so
it's
far.
been different.
But for anyone listening that has never been to the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa, could you give a 60-second elevator speech about just like a brief, I know you could go on literally for hours, there is a lot here, but let's just say someone is living in California tuning in. Tell them about the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa, and perhaps even where it's located in Michigan, what's so special about this region, and then we'll dig into how, which I think is just interesting to anyone, how the hospitality industry is, there's been many industries that are booming right now, but there's one that's been really specifically hard hit, and that is the hospitality industry. You just can't get around that. So if you could just tell people a quick overview of this property and why it's so special.
I think hearing the word resort in the title is different, because when you hear resort, you think of for me, I go, okay, Mexico, all inclusive, a resort. It's just different. Up here, you just think about hotels, but this place is so much more than that. It truly is a resort. Everything is here. You never have to leave property. You've got 3 different golf courses. You've got a full service spa, plus the health club, multiple pools, beach access, shopping, restaurants, entertainment. It is a resort. And then to have that in northern Michigan is super special. So we're right in the western part of the northern lower peninsula. A lot of people forget Michigan has 2 peninsulas. So we are right outside of Traverse City, which is just a booming area surrounded by Lake Michigan, 2 peninsulas, tons of wineries, breweries, awesome restaurants. It's become a huge destination for people.
Yeah, and you have a very large conference center.
We are. Largest convention center in northern Michigan.
Many resorts are predominantly perhaps leisure-oriented, or they have some business, but not very large-scale conferences. You have a lot of conferences where people don't even necessarily, have to have a guest room. They might just be coming for a craft show. You can house, how many thousands of people do you have? What's
86,500 square feet of meeting space. I mean, Governor's Hall, our main ballroom is over 19,000. We've had an elephant in there. We've had giraffes in there. We've had a Coast Guard helicopter.
Yeah.
We've
wow.
had, I mean,
So when I say that, this,
Right.
this hotel
An elephant and
conferences is bread and butter for this property.
totally.
So this
Correct.
is very different than perhaps, a beach resort or a city resort where you've got just families coming in. Conferences is bread and butter up here for this resort. It's not a small boutique hotel. Conferences is really significant part of your business model, correct?
It's our huge business.
Absolutely. The conference center is what we're based off of. I mean, if you look at the number of rooms, hotel rooms, it's 70,000 guest rooms just come for conferences alone. The magnitude is just, COVID was devastating because that's 70,000 guest rooms.
Room nights,
Room
just
nights,
to clarify.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you automatically just take that out of your business. And so then you pivot.
Correct.
And you have to rely on the leisure destination. But if you go back to what Traverse City is, it's the Riviera of the Midwest. Beautiful Lake Michigan. The colors in the lake are spectacular. The sand in the water. That's why you come to Northern Michigan. And then we have the resort. We have Jack Nicklaus, Gary Player, golf courses. We are that type of destination. And sometimes the hotel kind of rested on conferences.
Yeah.
And that's probably the quickest thing that we did is we pivoted to become that leisure portion of a resort.
And did you do something in particular to drive, as you guys know, there's 7 days in a week, 2 are the weekend, 5 are business. So did you do anything to pivot more of that leisure travel to go midweek at all? I'd be curious to know, is that possible? I mean, I'm just super curious.
It kind of happened organically. With the pent-up demand from being sheltered in place, when we opened up golf, people just came and came and came. And so that opened up the week. Our golf revenues, our golf stays, the best ever in 35 years.
Wow.
Huge.
Without being that complete resort with all the other amenities, we probably would not have survived.
100%.
And so we followed every protocol because we didn't want to be shut down. We didn't know what was going to happen. So we continued to follow every single protocol that the health department and the governor put out in her orders. And we still were very successful. The people wanted to get out. And so we were very fortunate with that. But then we got scared because all these people are coming from areas that are shut down. We're open in the state. How do we now protect
Everybody else
that's here? How do we protect our associates? It may sound awful, but we raised prices to keep people away.
Yeah.
You have to.
Because we thought of what is the capacity of our hospitals up here? How can our region support if something was to go bigger?
Yeah.
People kept coming. So we pushed our safety even farther. We took taking temperatures of our associates before it was even required. I started taking temperatures on the 17th of March.
Now, this is the first hotel. I mean, I've been to a few hotels this year. This is the first one I've been in where you get your temperature checked as you walk in the front
Yeah.
to the lobby.
And that's anywhere down at the clubhouse before golf, down at the Spa and Health Club, plus the main
Yep.
lobby doors. Every single main
That's
entrance
impressive.
point where
That is
someone
really
is coming
impressive.
in.
You know,
And
it was-
go ahead.
we took their standards and we took it to that next level. We listened to the CDC, we listened to the scientists, and we pushed that. And it was all for safety. We wanted to make sure that when guests came, that they would be safe, but we want to make sure our associates were safe as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there are 3 pillars you got to work off. You got to work off of your associates, because if you don't have them, you can't open up. You got to work on your guests to make sure they're satisfied and taken care of. And the bottom line is I got to make sure the owners are successful and we can pay the bills.
Yeah.
Right.
And those are the 3 things I work off. It's a 3-legged stool, but
Yeah.
if you work off of that, you can be successful
Yeah.
going forward.
Even like walking. Oh, so guys, you guys hearing like music in the background. We're in the Den, which is like to me like a mini Crest Cruiser. It's like amazing. Like you got bowling on one side. You got, you're right. You got like a bar. You got like an axe
There's an
throwing.
escape room
There's an
behind
escape
us.
room. So
The axe throwing lanes, those are the spotlight on the axe throwing lanes.
So if you're deciding to come up here for a business trip, you can definitely pull out some fun too. One thing that was cool, I walked around. It was like a mall here. Like you guys have shops. I don't think I've ever been in a hotel or resort where they have like gift shops and it's like candy or like you guys have full-fledged like North Face selling. I was like, wait, is this like a mall? Is this like the second Traverse City Mall?
Oh, yeah. It's like the best kids' toy store. Melissa and Doug, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
There's
it's-
only 2 toy stores, I think, in Traverse City. One right downtown and this one here at the
Wow.
resort.
And so like I commend you guys, like how you guys built it, and like from a hospitality like aspect, I'm just like, okay, they've really thought about every aspect, every human being that could potentially come here and stay, right? You get the family, right? You have the kids, you have the business travel. Like I drove around this morning, I saw the golf courses. I was like, okay, this is sick. Yeah. Like this is definitely something that you can enjoy yourself, but also like get a lot of work done. Yeah. I think so too. Yeah. But yeah, the den so far just looking. I can't wait to come here later tonight and kill everybody in bowling. But.
All right, so I'm ready with the hard-hitting questions. The hospitality in me is just, you know, again, I graduated right after 9/11 and worked right into the hotel business. So I laugh about your joke, there's no Marriott book, because I remember when I graduated, there was literally a recession chapter, but there was no pandemic chapter in the Marriott training book.
No, there was not.
Let's just, and you know, Caroline, you started in March or February, you know, right before you're in PR, so you know, you obviously can't just kind of skirt away from what's happening. So let's just talk about in those first 60 days, maybe 30 to 60 days, what did you do from a real practical standpoint to take care of those pillars? You're referencing your owners, your customers, and your associates. What did you do? It
started with the ownership and a really big commitment from them.
Absolutely.
Because we were shut down. I mean, again, this is a place with restaurants.
How many employees at that point? Let's go to January. How many employees were working here at that point?
We opened the den March 13th, and we had 600 associates employed.
Wow.
So right as the pandemic hit.
Right as the pandemic hit. So that following Sunday, we closed this outlet. And we kept 100. The building is over 600 rooms. So we have a 17-story tower. So my first thought is we still need to have guest rooms open for first responders that have to be ready to prepare. Does the military come? So I can't close the building 100%. Yeah.
Which would have been nice from a cost standpoint. But that's the problem with hotels is they're always open 24/7. They're very labor intensive.
Yes.
And it's like a hospital. It'd be very difficult to just shut the lights off.
Right. And that's the key. You think about hospitality, hospital, it's the same mentality.
100%.
So we shut down half of the building and we kept open the tower for 100 rooms, which was the max that we could do.
Okay.
And then we looked at every department and we selectively went to every associate. What's your availability? Are you willing to work? Because we don't know what's going to happen. We did have a core number of about 100 associates that stayed on to keep the front desk open, to clean guest rooms that were available, but food and beverage was completely closed at the time. So we went from that. And then our owners agreed to pay all of the wages because we didn't know what the government would do. We didn't know unemployment. So our ownership paid 2 months of 40-hour a week for every associate.
Wow.
Huge.
Full wages and benefits.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's incredible.
And they own 3 properties.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So all of March and April, when everyone was totally sitting at home. I mean, again, it's someone for me who just started this brand new job, left my career that I had for 5+ years, left that comfortability to do something totally new, move halfway across the country again, and then a shutdown. You had no idea what was going to happen. To hear that from them, and we're owned by the Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa and Chippewa Indians, the tribe up here locally. 2 months.
Incredible.
No questions asked. So that went from someone like me who could still do some work from home, and I did. We were communicating totally, sending out press releases, dealing with media calls, sending out information. The communication didn't stop for those 2 months, but like we said, food and beverage workers, they weren't doing anything. Not every housekeeper was still here. The spa was closed, the health club was closed, and all of those people got to have that little sense of appreciation, value, and knowing that their job was still safe.
That's huge.
For 2 months.
For an owners to make that kind of decision without knowing what will happen next, did that build like morale in your workers?
It built morale, sense of family, commitment. At that time the PPP. The PPE,
PPP loans.
PPP loans.
So we were we're not a small business. We're over 500, right?
Yeah.
So we couldn't get any of that stuff.
So there's a cap on those?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
500, and we were over the cap. So
why did I think that there were so many large companies getting those?
I think there was a lot of crooked things going on out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are applying that shouldn't have been applying.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So you didn't get financial assistance?
no financial assistance.
Okay.
Wow.
We didn't
And
get that.
obviously your employees would be able to get unemployment,
Yes.
correct?
Well, not right in the beginning. We didn't know.
And
Yeah,
Right.
we didn't have that kicker. None
Right.
of that stuff was there.
Exactly. So
and it was May when
when that started?
so we were still closed, and depending on who could come back, what things were opening, golf had started to open, some areas could kind of bring people back. That's then where employees had the option to go collect unemployment, but everyone started coming back. I mean, June.
Yeah. And on top of the pay for those 2 months, the ones that we couldn't bring back, we kept on furlough
Right.
and to collect unemployment. We still paid their health insurance, so
Which is incredible.
They did not have to collect COBRA. They didn't have to pay extra for that.
Wow.
That's a commitment of an ownership that has to our associates.
That's huge.
And finding other areas for people to work, because again, conferences right now.
Right.
Not totally happening. You're not
Exactly.
bringing hundreds of people together. So some of those people who had been in those positions for years weren't having their normal workload, but we've found other areas for them to help at the front desk. You know, they've moved around because they love working here. They didn't want to leave. They didn't want to find something else, and they were committed to staying here. And they saw the commitment I think we had to them through everything. And again, offering them other areas to work. So when the time comes and conference services are our bread and butter again,
Right.
that work will be waiting for them.
Okay. Okay. So let's now summer hits. Golf kicks in. You get really busy with that. Were there new jobs added for the golf area, or were you already pretty equipped for that? Or?
The restrictions that we had, we still couldn't provide the services.
Oh, okay.
We could not take the golf bag out of the car. We could not wipe down the clubs.
Oh, okay.
So a bag boy couldn't do what he normally does.
Okay.
And so it was limited full service golf is basically what it was.
Yeah.
In the beginning, this was crazy how it started. You could golf and walk, and you could buy alcohol. Then we were allowed to give you a car per person, and you could have alcohol. Then you could ride double in a car, but couldn't have alcohol.
Oh, interesting.
I didn't understand, and
Yeah.
then we got alcohol. So it just kind of went.
Like, the rules kept changing every moment.
Every moment, it would just keep.
And you have to be on it.
Yeah.
Something new every day.
It's like a golf cart. So a golf cart, we sanitize the golf carts. It takes about 45 seconds to sanitize a golf cart. We have a chemical that sprays the golf cart all down. You wait 15 seconds and then you rinse it off. And so you golf, someone's got to take that cart down, sanitize it, bring it back up. We were so busy that at times we'd have people waiting for golf carts.
Wow.
We have over 300 golf carts.
Wow.
Oh, so that just tells you like how many people are
That's
coming
how
to
many
golf.
people were golfing.
And then they're staying and eating and sometimes spending the night?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's huge.
It was huge.
We had a
So-
lot of golf groups in-house this summer. People wanted to be outside.
Right.
And we had a beautiful summer too. We were lucky with the weather.
Yeah.
It was just 70 degrees yesterday. And we're in
And,
the
and November, yeah.
The weather did work out.
It was spectacular this year. You think about last year, yesterday, we got 12 inches of snow up here.
So, yeah.
And so,
And then
70-degree weather in November
with
is
no snow.
it's delightful.
So what other aspects of your business grew outside of golf that you guys didn't foresee during this pandemic? Like, what other piece of business, like, wow, that's actually exploding too?
It's the leisure guest. You know, we talked about the weekend and what we had in the beginning. We really, being a conference center first, you book 5 years out in your conference centers and your rates are fixed and you're filling up those. That's your bread and butter. That's how you can survive year round. If that goes away, what we discovered is that pent up demand from Southeast Michigan coming up here. I think I felt it was here. And I think the team here didn't really realize the potential that was there. And they started to come, and we really had to now be yield and revenue managers per day, per week. How many guests are in the building? How do we take care of them? Because there's also COVID in place. What we can clean, what we cannot clean, what we had to remove from the rooms. How do we provide that service that we are known for, but we can't because of COVID? And what we realized, it came back to the associates again. They were excited to be at work. All that goodwill that we did during the wintertime, they paid it forward to the guests coming into the building.
Yeah.
And the service levels never stopped.
Wow.
And
That's where I think a pandemic does provide unique opportunities, not one you'd ever wish for, but looking back, it's like service recovery gives you an opportunity to really wow someone. You wouldn't have had that opportunity in the same manner to really wow your employees. I mean, let's be real, like Employee Appreciation Week or the holiday party would not have made the same impression as paying their wages and benefits. So, you know, you think back to how you really try to incentivize employees, like this is such a unique opportunity that I think in the long run will pay off dividends because A, they'll never remember it, B, they're telling everyone they know, C, you're able now to tell it to everyone you know, and then when it, like you said, they pay it forward to your guests.
And you can see that in our comments. The guests talking how the associates responded to their needs. The moment you come into the building, we would have a bellman with a bell cart. You know, we couldn't provide that service, just couldn't do it. We couldn't do valet parking. But our associates did everything to that point, greeting them at the door, welcoming them in the building, helping them with directions, getting them to their rooms, you know, creating that experience. They became more of the experience than they had been in the past. And I think the core of our culture of customer service increased because of that.
So as you're like leading the team, was there a lot of doubt or did people fully just trust you making these calls? Like how was it? Like, were you like fighting? Like, okay, guys, like, there's a hump. You're laughing.
I am laughing. You know, I kept going forward.
Yeah.
You know, I was there with them. I wasn't sitting in a chair in an office somewhere. I was side by side with them. You know, I was at that front door. I was in the.
You were in Hawaii, just checked out.
Hey, make sure you guys do this, all right?
You know, and I.
FaceTiming from the beach.
No one came to me, and you know, really, I'm a very transparent leader.
Yeah.
And the dialogue was very open. I don't think there was any time that I felt if someone was doubting my thoughts or my ideas to do that. You know, they gave me a couple nicknames.
Let's hear it.
It's it's not bad. They call me Rack Rate Matthew.
Oh, that's so funny. You were raising the rate.
I was raising the rates.
You know.
That's my kind of person.
And they were like, well, you can't do that. We've never done that before. And I said, the demand is here.
Yeah, now this is what rack rates are for. So guys, rack rates are the most you can charge per room, and let's just be real, they're really, really high. And technically it's like illegal, you can't go higher, but they're always way higher than you ever would typically.
Correct.
So
Absolutely.
You'll see in your hotel room, there's a sign that shows the rack rate of the room, and it's like always like 4 times what you're probably paying. But listen, guys, when the demand is up, and you're obviously making up for lost revenue in other departments.
Correct.
A man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Yeah.
And all you guys are getting paid and taken care of.
Yeah.
That's how we're going to do it.
I laugh at it now because it is pretty funny that they did that. And I think when you can be transparent with your team and they can give you a nickname, good or bad, you know, it's a good feeling. That's
and
fair.
ultimately you're doing that. It's not like you're taking home that cash directly. This is for the betterment of the entire business.
Right. And if you go back to what our ownership did, this is how I'd say thank you back to them.
Yeah.
I ran their business to the best of my ability to make sure that they were not financially hurt. To do something like that again if it is needed. And I think I go back to those 3 pillars, and that's all 3 pillars that we did during this time that we're here.
I just learned some jazz today, it's true.
What's up, guys? Subscribe. Tell your best friend, tell your mom, tell your neighbor, tell your 4-year-old kid. Please listen.
We appreciate you. And thank you so much for all of your 5-star reviews on Apple. That helps us get this podcast out to other people who will enjoy. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
And with that, enjoy the rest of the episode.
You gon' learn, you gon' learn.
Talk about you being on the floor with your associates, and why do you do those kind of things as a leader?
What general doesn't go to the floor? I mean, who's going to follow somebody if they don't go into that fire? Golf is a good example, right? Our golf director down there one day, he says, I've got no team members. It's only salary members down there. Can I come down and help? And I said, yeah, I'll be down there. But in addition to that, I brought the director of the spa and recreation down there. in her stilettos. All right? Her and I together clean
so
golf
funny.
carts.
Running around in heels.
Running around in heels. And how do you build that type of relationship? You go in first. Right?
It's also been, I mean, leading by example, because you see that in all departments. The director of the spa, Dawn, I mean, she's also the director of the health club, and you will see her behind the health club desk checking people in. She's been down on the pool deck
Yeah.
in her heels. When a lifeguard, everyone has completely stepped up to the plate. This is a place where everyone wants to be. People have
Right.
been here and working for, I mean, there's people who've been here for decades. And they know this place inside and out and how much it means to them, to the community, to the guests and visitors who come, the families who build memories here. Everybody has stepped up, and so it's not just him out on the floor working with everyone. The directors and managers of all of these departments too. I mean, they're working 12 straight days. They're working 14-hour
Right.
days. They are out there because it just helps the entire place
Oh, yeah.
succeed.
So what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned? You know, what are we, month 8, I'm going to call it? Or I don't know what month. I just feel like it's longer than we realize.
8 or
November.
9.
It's November. I don't even.
So let's just say we're in month 8. What are some of the, like, maybe what's the biggest lesson or a couple lessons? You know, obviously not everything was probably perfect, right? There were probably some hiccups, some challenges, opportunities, we like to call them, guys.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some,
Opportunities. That's a nice
lessons?
word.
It's such a sales thing. So what are some lessons, and even just some of the bigger mistakes you've made that you learned from? I know, tough question.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I think there was some opportunity that we missed because in addition to running this resort, we also did an outside catering for 12 weeks straight. GLEF, the Great Lakes Equestrian Festival, is 2 miles from here. And so there was 1,000 horses coming in for equestrian events. We're talking the world horses were coming in for the championship. So we did the catering for that in addition to running a 600-room resort.
Right.
We spread ourselves way too thin.
Because you'd also let go of a lot of people at this point.
Right.
So you're working on a very minimal staff.
Correct. Extremely minimal.
Fine line.
And so what by pulling and our associates over there to run that, we didn't open up enough of our food and beverage outlets in here. And so the revenue we gained over there was less than what we would have gained over here. And that was probably one of our biggest financial mistakes.
Because you kept certain restaurants closed longer than you legally had to?
No, we just couldn't open because we didn't have the
staff.
staff. We didn't have the employees. And so the associates that we needed to run the outdoor catering, we pulled them off the property to run that. And what the revenue we gained from there was less than what we would have if we would have opened 2 restaurants here on property.
Is that because people wouldn't come back to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So why don't we talk about that? Because I think that's something as owners, it's an interesting conversation that I'm imagining most people listening probably don't own a restaurant or hotel. They probably eat at restaurants and hotels. So let's talk about how hard that is. You know, unemployment's extremely high. And, you know, the reality is that probably going into work would have made them less money than what unemployment was paying them. Is that an accurate assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
It was crazy.
So why don't
It
you
is.
two
It was
talk
everywhere.
about? So why don't you two talk about this? I know at one point, Vince, you were trying to hire some help. You know, why don't you talk about that? What that challenge is like from an owner perspective when unemployment is so ungodly high.
It is a very politically charged question
I
you're
know.
asking here.
I know.
And
And it's nothing right or wrong. It's just I think a lot of people don't really realize it.
Right.
Because most people either were not impacted or were not on unemployment or well, everyone goes to restaurants, but you're not always thinking about the challenges of a restaurant owner of trying to hire. So you see all these people unemployed. That's not that they weren't being offered jobs.
we had 200 jobs open that we couldn't fill, and that's
You guys hear that? There were 200 jobs open they couldn't fill. Now, I'm not here to like point fingers or anything. I'm just saying that's something we assume that no one can find work. There was a lot of work at one point.
We
and
still
not a
have
lot of people-
jobs.
Correct. I know many business owners that have a ton of work, but people don't want to necessarily go back to work.
Yes.
And why is that?
I got a couple answers for you.
that-
Why is that? Vince can answer it.
Vince.
that is a very hard question. You know, when we did all that goodwill for 2 months of paying people's salaries, millions of dollars we paid out of our pockets to build goodwill.
There was no revenue necessarily coming in.
Yeah, there was nothing there. And we saw the great associates come back, the ones that valued that relationship. And so that was a good thing that we did. I would do that again and again and again.
Yeah.
That was the right thing to do.
Right.
100%.
That was the right thing to do. But why they didn't come back, I can't truly answer that question on this conversation. I won't answer it. I'm sorry.
Vince, I want to hear yours.
I mean, I would love to answer it, but we did everything we could to bring them back. So we looked at our wages, we looked at our tips, we raised rates to equal. What we would do is, okay, they would make $50,000 annually, but they're only going to make this for a certain time. It's going to go away. So why not come back to work? We raised our averages, we increased our incentives, and we showed people that with your base rate plus incentives to do your job, you'll make more than what you'll make in unemployment. And I still couldn't get people to come back.
And they didn't necessarily say why.
And they wouldn't say why.
Well, I'll give you a perspective. Like, this is not easy work, right? And so a lot of people don't have the stomach to work in hospitality, right? A lot of people get into it because, it's a job opening, let me do it. And then they're at a point where, okay, I'm just paying my bills, right? And so people have different situations. Some people are married, some people live at home, some people are single. So you have that aspect at play. Then the pandemic hits, right? And a lot of people get scared because now they're a job where they're killing it at tips and it's fun. They can hang out with their friends and drink and whatever that goes on in hotels and hospitality. Now that's gone, right? It's serious. You have to wear a mask all day. You have to make sure that you're talking to your customers. There's more pressure on you from a employee standpoint, right? Also, you're at home making more money doing nothing. So like
it is. You can't fault someone for not wanting to stay home, Netflix, and get paid a lot of money.
Exactly.
Because the unemployment was much higher during the pandemic.
Yeah, and our business, like from a hospitality standpoint, we were already losing a lot of new young people that want to be in the industry. Like, I opened my restaurant when I was 19. Like, wow. I don't have a lot of young people that want to work in a restaurant. I'll tell you that right now. No. Like, it's not cool. It's not sexy. They're not trying to wash dishes. Like, that work ethic and that aspect is completely gone. And I know that I'm the exception to the rule. Oh, yeah. Like, why
would you work in a restaurant if you can be an Instagrammer when you grow up?
Oh yeah, or like work at, do TikTok or work at the mall and stand on your phone and make more money.
Yeah.
Have more time. Like the perspective. I fully understand their perspective. I may not always agree with it, but I fully understand where they're coming from. Because it's like, well, you guys did a great thing of like, yo, we will pay you guys more money and you come back, and that just shows you that like they were never. Those people were never.
It wasn't the money.
It wasn't the money. They were never into it. Like they were never trying to.
And it's something to remember if you are in a restaurant now. Everyone listening, if you go to any hospitality business post-pandemic, in the pandemic, and if the service is less than you recall, you have to remember that they are probably operating on a very lean staff.
Totally.
The morale, no matter what, is not the same. They're in a sense, going out there in the front lines to interact with hundreds of people every day. So you can't pretend that's not on their mind. But the reality is that a lot of people did not go back to work. And so these restaurants are not operating the same as they were. So if service is slow and it's not the same that you remember, there's a lot more challenges and a lot more factors that play now. And similarly, when you do see unemployment rates, you can't necessarily point all the fingers at the business owners for not creating jobs. There's a lot of jobs out there that business owners cannot fill.
Well, I always say like jobs were never the issue. You just have lazy people. But I'm Jamaican though. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like I come from nothing. So like,
why don't you talk about that?
Well, you mentioned earlier, you want that bike, you had to go work for that bike. A lot of people didn't grow up in that situation.
Thanks.
So, and they just got the bike, and they got another bike, and they got another one, and then they got another one. So like for them, their perspective on life is like, I'll just go somewhere else and get my other bike. Right? That was that one bike that I got. I want another one. I had to work for it, right? Not saying if you come from a good situation, that doesn't mean you don't have work ethic, because that's not true. It's more about...
Yeah, I got all the bikes I want. I have a really good work ethic.
So, yeah, so like...
I'm just saying, there's a way to parent kids
and
still have a work ethic.
There's a lot of people like I'm younger, right? So values have changed. Benefits and money doesn't matter as much anymore. is like, what do you guys are up to as a company? Like when I interview people, they're asking me like, so, you know, what's the next goal? What are you trying to do? Are you going to give back or anything? I'm like, give back, dude. I'm trying to well, give you a restaurant. Like, we're trying to make money. Don't you want to make money this week? You know, but it's like, you know, I'm now seeing that like companies, we're going to have to, and I don't know the answer. I think we're going to have to we have to do hard work in figuring out what do people value now? Because obviously it's not more money and it's not more benefits. Like, what do they want to see
and they're not afraid to be unemployed.
They're not afraid to be unemployed.
They learned that. They learned that they can survive on unemployment.
Yeah.
That was always a huge fear of mine. Like, being employed was never the goal.
Oh, gosh, no.
No, I mean,
and too many people got
into
into
it
it
the same way. It's like,
it did not have a good rep.
No. You go to work. You're part of society. You need to improve society.
Don't work, you don't eat. That's where I come from.
And that's what it's at. Now the bike, I went and got some Rust-Oleum and changed my orange bike to a black bike. And then I changed it to a yellow bike. So I had that same bike for about 10 years.
It was just new in looks,
paint.
new in paint.
All right, so let's now bring it forward. It's currently, during the time of recording, it's November 2020. So what is next for the next 90 days for this property? How will this holiday season look differently than the past? Maybe some new opportunities this year that weren't there in the past. So good, bad, ugly. Let's talk about the future now.
You can see we already have all of our beautiful Christmas decorations up.
They are beautiful.
So we're starting. I think it's hard, this industry. We've already said it a ton of times. Every day can be so different, but you have to just continue along like you're going forward with whatever restrictions are in place and nothing new yet. And then when those new restrictions come, you change and adapt.
That is such a good mindset.
You have to. We can't say, nope, we're not going to have holiday parties.
Holidays are canceled.
Yeah, no, because if you know what, our rule is 50 people in a room, socially distanced with masks, we will put that on for people.
Yeah.
It'll be a safe environment no matter what. You know, it's Right, Matthew
Boy.
was looking at all kinds of ways to make sure that I could get to Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I went to PR and I said, I don't want to be a PR statement. I don't want to be a supercell. Can I do Christmas? Can I do New Year's Eve? What's there? So I'm constantly thinking of what's going to happen. So one of the quick things that we did, we usually do these grand buffets, just 600-700 people for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for Mother's Day, for Easter. So we lost Easter, we lost Mother's Day, and so we were thinking we were going to get Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then it's like we could see it coming, so we pivot.
Yeah.
To goes.
Yeah.
We'll do to goes. So you still get our great food from Irie, but you just get it to go.
Yeah.
And what's not mind-boggling is we almost were ahead of what the governor did to us when she shut it down, taking us to phase 4.
Yeah.
You know, we were already thinking of what if, and just like that, we flipped the switch and we're doing to go Thanksgiving, and people are buying it online, and you're gonna do to go Thanksgiving.
Contactless delivery into your car, and you know what? This is a weird time. There's some people who might be hosting Thanksgiving for their first time ever because stuff is different now. They're not traveling to family. They're not. Maybe they were going out to Thanksgiving type people, and they're not doing that. So they need another option. Here it is. It's just adjusting to honestly whatever is thrown at us.
Which is great that as people we still want to give, and we still want to give thanks. And so with our to-go order, we give an option for tip if they want a tip. And the tip is about 25%. You know, that's above normal. I mean, that people want to give. They're thankful that they can come, and they realize that people in this industry are working hard.
I feel like this has been good for the tipping world because I know I'm tipping more than normal.
Always. Yep. Me too.
I'm in the industry. You're in the industry.
Yeah.
You know what they do.
You do.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what they're going through.
I remember driving the airport shuttle for the Holiday Inn, and if a pilot would give me $2, it was like the best day of my life.
Yeah.
Like literally, I remember that vividly.
One thing that's been in this conversation a lot is pivot. So anyone that's listening right now, like, you have to pivot in your business anyway, but especially during the pandemic. And I think you guys done a great job of always finding the next thing and not just, you know, there's a lot of people who are just complaining the whole time. And I don't like that either, right? You know, I don't like people not working. I also don't like people just sitting on Facebook and complaining, right? I'm like, yo, like, you have to still make it happen, right? Because like a lot of this stuff is out of our control. So one thing I love that you guys are doing is finding new ways to make money and take care of your staff, and especially to goes. Like for me, like I'm only open on the weekends now, right? And I will say it, like I run a better business, right? Like, and I could never imagine just having a restaurant that's only open 3 days a week, right? Like that just sounds like idiotic. Like you never
Seems
make
weird.
money.
I wouldn't expect to see those hours on Google for a restaurant.
Right? Like, and I do certain hours, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I do more than I have ever done in my business just in 3 days, right? Now, that may run a better business on a lean staff, right? And so I'm sure it's harder for you guys because you guys are such a bigger operation, but being able to still do to-goes, Thanksgiving meals, and be quick, and people can probably get out faster and not having to wait, they can still have time with their family. Like, there's still a lot of opportunities and positive moments coming out of the pandemic. And so hand clap to you guys for finding those wins, because if this conversation was like, we haven't done anything, so that'd be such a depressing conversation. So
it's weird to say too, you do feel weird saying it, but there's been a fun aspect to it. I mean, we've gotten very creative. Yep. You especially have had some really just remarkable ideas, and we have, even as a marketing team, we've come together and said, okay, we're having a whole new job now to market this place even more as a leisure destination, when we didn't always have to do that so much because people would come no problem, but we did have those conferences and groups to rely on. But with those gone right now, this is leisure travel central, and what are we going to do to get people to still come in the winter? So we're bringing in different ideas and stuff outside.
This is an idea. We were in the room together, and one of our associates loves cornhole, just is an amazing cornhole player. And so he and the director of finance, or what is Scott? CFO. They were just like, oh yeah, cornhole would be something kind of cool to do. So I Googled it. A guy in Flint is a dealer or a commissioner, and I called him. I said, hey, I'm from Flint too. Do you like Angelo's, or do you like Starlight Conies? And we just started talking. He said, well, where'd you go to school? I went to Bentley, I went to Flint Central. And so we started talking. It's like, hey, can I do a cornhole competition up here? And literally in 2 weeks, contract signed, 3-year deal with the American Cornhole Organization.
Boom.
And that's what fun is.
Yeah.
That's going to work, So you can do cornhole outside. You can do cornhole inside.
You should look at their website. This organization they're so fun.
And people are just like, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm the general manager. And again, I go back to my 3 things, and I just did them again. It's constantly showing people that no matter where you work in this building, you're a salesperson, you're customer service, you're taking associates. And no idea is a bad idea.
Right.
Pivot.
That's been a big thing too. Just try it.
Just try it.
If it doesn't work,
it's fine.
It's fine. Try it. It doesn't. Working from the resort, we're offering that now. I mean, get out of your house, work from here. Setting up a big business space with audio and visual capabilities. People need to get out. People who are still stuck and can't go to the office, they need a different space now. And even just for 2 days, that reset of just working in a different environment, we have the space, we have the room. Yeah. It just trying things, I think, is a big thing. And so that's what's been nice. I mean, between you and just other management here, no idea is a bad idea. The table is completely open, and who knows what else we'll have here along with cornhole one day.
Well, that's some more ideas. I'm not sharing them because somebody might take them.
Yeah, but the crazy thing, what just hit me is that after, let's say 2021, when this is all like officially kind of over, the double effect, right? Because all the good work you guys done now, imagine leisure is now up and your business is now back up, and like you built during hard times a better business for the future. So there's also not only short-term pivots today that can make you money, but that 3-year deal can now bring a whole new. That's 3 years ahead. That's forecasting. Right. And I think a lot of people have lost that a little bit. Hey, like we're so like, okay, what can make us to next week? Yeah. What can make you to like 2 years from now? Right. Have that long view, because you have a great golf competition and a cornhole competition. What else can happen here? Right. Bring the elephants back.
Do the circus in there again.
I think it's just great seeing companies kind of break down the need to spend 6 months researching an idea before it gets approved. I think we have to be nimble right now. We need to be flexible, open to just trying. At this point, we have more to lose. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have anything to lose.
Exactly.
And I
We're
think-
throwing ideas out there, and in 2 days, we're just
That's the thing.
putting them into
and
place.
I think to me, it's almost like now every company is acting like a one-person company, which is exciting because we were probably a little too regimented. We were probably a little too
playing it safe.
overthinking things. And I think that's what's so great about 2020. There's no rules. There's no bad idea. Anything goes. And I think when you have a culture like that, you're just going to encourage and empower every associate from every level to present ideas, which to me is a much smarter long-term business strategy.
And to keep it like that.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like this I hope never changes.
Well, we operate better that way.
Yeah.
You know, we're not the ones who are always there. I mean, we see a lot of stuff, but I'm not in the kitchen cooking.
Right.
So when they are the ones up in the restaurant every day and come down with ideas, or the ones down on the golf course or in the spa or anywhere, when other people feel that they can come forward and share information and take what they're seeing and learning and bring it forth with new ideas or changes,
Wow.
it just makes you stronger as an entire business.
All right, so people listening that want to come up here to visit, can they feel safe staying at the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa?
I think that's all
Absolutely.
we've heard is people feel so
Absolutely.
safe.
That's probably one of the biggest things we went out to do, is to make you feel safe. I said it earlier, hospitality, hospital. Back in the beginning, I was working with Munson Hospital on how to clean rooms to make sure we were killing this bacteria, killing it to make it safe. I got their recommendations on how to clean, and then I modified it here to make sure we could do it. I bought equipment and chemicals to make sure it was safe. We were one of the first people to take temperatures. We bought this machine called the Clorox 360 that actually ionized bleaches and sprays it in the air to kill the bacteria. The health club uses that 3 times a day. The outlets are done once a day. I mean, it is a constant cleaning.
Because it's cleaner than any grocery store you're going to, or
It totally
we're gonna
is.
call a spade a spade, right? Yeah, I think that's.
I mean, we even took our mask policy to a whole nother level.
I saw the signs.
Yeah, and that was a tough thing to do because you go anywhere else and you can wear bandanas. You can wear face shields with nothing else underneath, and you can wear those gaiters were the most popular, I think a lot of people wear.
Yep.
But we kind of had done some research, talked to some health officials, and there were just little things that it didn't come across that it had as much of an effect as just wearing the other, over the ear loop face mask, whether it's the blue one that everyone wears or one that you can buy from a store or make. And so that we took that and we said no to associates wearing face shields, face masks with the valves, gaiters or bandanas, and then that went for anyone else coming on property too, guests, vendors. And that, I remember the first weekend we did that. I think, a couple people when they came, they didn't know right away or they weren't prepared. They'd been wearing gaiters everywhere else.
Yeah.
But changing that here and then explaining to it, and us associates felt better with that too.
Just making everybody safe. Like,
Doing what we need to do.
Because I would agree that, at first I was like, well, that's a little bit weird. But then I thought about it. I was like, oh, you think about a hotel and the traffic alone, like, you do feel safe. Like, oh, these things are not allowed here. And the weird way, subconsciously kind of puts like, okay, they take their job seriously. Right. They're not trying to get shut down and get people sick. Right? They're trying to really keep people's jobs alive. They're trying to keep their business alive. And so from a business perspective, I definitely respected it.
It was any given weekend day, you're talking 1,700 people in this building. We're not all together at one spot, but 1,700 people come through that front door.
Yeah.
And so how do you make it safe? It was never a political statement. Never. Anything of that way. When we pushed it, when we refused guests coming in, is probably the hardest thing COVID has taught somebody in hospitality, is to say no.
Correct.
And to allow your team to say no was, they didn't know how to take it. But when they did say no and they saw me support them from the ways of removing people and groups off the property, hiring additional security at our front door. We have to have 2 officers above our normal security to tell people you are not allowed in this building. And that's a
hard.
change. And that's hard. That's not what hospitality is about.
Right.
At all.
But you got to think about long-term sustainability and how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
The world's different now.
It's been interesting.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, where can people learn more about your resort and keep up to date with what's happening, and more importantly, book a reservation to come visit?
The easiest is just going right to the website, grandtraversresort.com. There's a landing page with any announcements, so any COVID changes, any of our events, specials, deals, all of that going on, reservation, you can book there. But then follow us on Facebook and Instagram too. Lots of fun pictures and things being posted there to showcase how we're still having fun, how we're still open, and how we're still ready to welcome guests.
Awesome, I love it. Well, thank you guys for your time. It was so good talking with you, and we wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to come back soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Hey, you gon' learn this jazz too. Hey, yes, you going to learn this jazz. Ooh, I even taught your girl some jazz yesterday. True.
Let's make sure you subscribe, and subscribe, baby.